Okay, here we have our notes for LG6. We are to write an equation in standard form for each of the following lines. So the only thing that is given to me is a point on the line and a slope. So I only know that my slope is 2 and I have this point 3, 4. There is a way of finding the equation of the line fairly easy, and this is called the point slope form. You want to make sure you write this down. So the point slope form allows you to fairly quickly use this information that you're given to find the equation of the line. And it's going to look a little funny, but it's going to turn out fairly nicely. I'm going to take my y coordinate and I'm going to subtract the 1 point. Like the y1 just means the 1 point that you're given, we're going to subtract. And then we're going to make it equal to our slope. And now we're going to take our x coordinate minus the 1 x coordinate that we're given. So this is very important. You want to write this piece down. This is your point slope form. Y is just any y coordinate minus y1, which is the 1 point that you're given, equals the slope times the any x coordinate minus the x coordinate that you're given, your x1. Let's use this equation and fill in. So let me rewrite this one time, and then we're going to fill in and we're going to bring it into standard form. That's all we need to do. So my y, this y right here, will never change. It will stay a y. We need a y in our equation. This y, this y1, is your y coordinate of the 1 point that you're given. So if my point is 4, then I'm just going to write 4 instead of y1. I'm going to plug in. My slope is 2, so I know I'm going to plug in 2. This x will never change. You just drop it down how it is. What will change is your y x1. We are given an x coordinate, which is 3. So I'm going to plug this in. And now all I need to do is rearrange my formula so it becomes standard form. The easiest way first is we're going to always distribute our slope first. So we have y minus 4 equals 2x minus 6. We're going to first bring it into slope-intercept form by now adding the 4 on both sides. So the slope-intercept form of this line is 2x minus 2. This is what we have in slope-intercept form. But I'm not asked to write the line in slope-intercept form. I'm asked to write it in standard form. And if you remember from the beginning, we talked about standard form means that your x and your y need to be on the same side of the equal sign. So all I now need to do, I'm going to write it over here, is I'm going to subtract the x over. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. And then I'm going to have negative 2x plus y equals negative 2. There's now one tiny little problem. When you write in standard form, whatever your number is with x is not allowed to be a fraction. So it cannot be a fraction. No way. Luckily, we don't have a fraction, but it also cannot be a negative number. So in this case, my 2 is a negative 2 in front of x, so I need to multiply the whole equation by a negative 1. So my negative 2 becomes positive. So negative 2x times negative 1 is positive 2x. And now my y times negative 1 is minus y. And this negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. Here is my line in standard form. So remember, this here was your y-intercept form. And this is now your standard form. X and y on the same side. And x is a positive whole number. This would be your first problem. All right, let me erase this so we can have some room and do the next problem. Okay, let me go back so you can see the formula. So what am I given? I am given a slope, which is my m, of -3, and I'm given 1 point of -2 and -5. Let's fill it into our equation. Remember, the first y never changes. The y1 is your y coordinate. In this case, what happens if I'm subtracting a negative? Because I'm subtracting a negative, I could rewrite this whole problem, make it simple right away, and say I'm going to say, okay, this is +5. My slope is -3. Remember, this 1x never changes. And now instead of subtracting a -2, I'm going to say I'm going to add a 2. First step is distribute. So we're going to have y plus 5 equals -3x minus 6. We're going to add the 5 to the other side. So now I have y equals -3x minus 1. And to bring it, this would now be your your slope-intercept form, but we have to write it in standard form. So we're going to add the 3x to the other side, which gives me a 3x plus y equal to -1. And because my x number here is a positive and it is a whole number, here I'm finished with 3x plus 1 equals 3x plus y equals -1. Okay, let's do a few more. My slope is 1/3, my point is -1, 0. Point slope form, y minus y1 equal to the slope x minus x1, which would then in this case be +1. Distribute. And honestly, in my next step, what is anything minus 0? I can just leave this right away. So I have y equals 1/3 x plus 1/3. I'm going to bring, this is now the slope-intercept form, so I'm going to bring my x over. I have a -1/3 x plus y equals 1/3. Here's my problem. Not only is my x negative, it is also a fraction. So I need to find a number that I need to multiply my whole equation by. It's like your magic number that will make this number be a whole number. In this case, if I multiply everything by -3, what happens? -3 times -1/3 actually becomes a +1. So my x just becomes x. -3 times y gives me a -3y. And then -3 times 1/3 would give me a -1. And now here is your equation in standard form. Okay. Next problem, I have my slope. This time, it looks like they're not giving me a point. It says the x-intercept is 2. But remember from Algebra 5, we know that if the x-intercept is 2, that means my coordinate for this point on any x-coordinate, x-intercept, my coordinates of y is always 0. So even that it doesn't look like they gave me a point, they actually did give me a point, because the x-intercept of 2 is the same as saying 2, 0. Now I can fill it into my equation. I have y minus 0 equals -3/4 x minus 2. I'm going to distribute this. I don't need anymore. I'm just going to leave it. -3/4 x and -3/4 times -2 is positive 6/4. I could simplify the 6/4, but I'm not at this point, because I know I have to bring it in standard form, and you'll see it actually simplifies itself out easier if you don't simplify at this point. So we need to bring x and y on the same side. I'm going to add 3/4 x on both sides. This is what I have left over. My x is a fraction, which I can't have. What is the one number that I need to multiply by? My magic number is times 4. So I'm going to multiply everything in the equation times 4. 3/4 times 4 is just 3x. Y times 4 is y, 4y. And 6/4 times 4 is just 6. Here's my line in standard form. Let's do another one. My slope is -4. The y-intercept is -1. So what did we remember of the coordinates of a y-intercept? Your x is always 0. So my point actually is 0, -1. Let's fill in our information. Y minus -1 would be y plus 1. My slope is -4. And then I actually have x minus 0. My x-coordinate is 0. Distribute your -4. Y plus 1 equals -4x. And -4 times 0 actually is 0. So I don't need it. I'm going to subtract my 1 on both sides. That gives me y equals -4x minus 1. And then to bring this into standard form, I'm going to bring the -4x over by adding 4x. And left over is your -1. Here's your line in standard form using a point and a slope.